Hello, my friends. How's it going? Today we're going to be discussing the physics path. The way. This is the way, right? um, and what's really cool about the path, and by the way, if you're a mathematician or if you're an aspiring physicist or a mathematician, you might be able to get something out of this as well, just to see the outline of, or my recommended path. Maybe I could collaborate with an actual person who did mathematics in their undergraduate as well. Um, and discuss like what the best path is for them and make a video on that. But for now, we're just going to stick with this. But either way, for both math and physics, research, you want to get started with research day one. As soon as you're a freshman, you're fresh meat on the hazing ritual board for being a grunt for some associate type of professor who's hungry, who needs to feed his family, that's on a work visa. I'm just messing. That's a joke. But no, that's usually the case. You want to find this a particular ambitious professor that has some skin in the game, in probably one of these fields, in plasmas or kinetics. The reason I chose these four is just because they are the highest, I guess, leverageable positions to be a physicist in. But there's other ones like I would say optics or photonics. But I mean, you might as well just do condensed matter at that point, or spintronics. All of these like subfields of condensed matter. We understand electromagnetic waves very well. There's a lot of money going into the stuff that we don't really understand. Well, particle physics has kind of slowed funding, but you become an actual cracked physicist anyways if you go into nuclear or elementary particle physics. Computational physics, yeah. So anyways, you want to target these early professors, and just offer yourself, right, as a slave. That's a joke, YouTube. Don't demonetize me, please. But offer to code, build hardware or derive for them, and deliver results weekly. You want to be able to make sure that there's some kind of schedule that where you're like consistently delivering results, and that's good for your letter of recommendation. Okay, so you want to find a PI, or I don't even remember what that's like, project inquirer, primary, and I don't even care. Like I don't even. That's how out of it I am. You don't have to be all there to be a physicist like me or whatever, and work at some national lab or and also there's another thing. You'll want to we'll get into grades in a second. But this is really the most important thing. I would say just get into a lab, and you're gonna want to make perfect grades. With a caveat, you're gonna want to make perfect grades your freshman and sophomore year ish. You're really gonna want to lock in so that your perfect grades are there, so that you can get into some kind of prestigious type internship or like quant, you know, um, uh, some quant role at a bank or some national laboratory at like a prestigious type of institution, or lab or bank, whatever the hell you're trying to do. Okay, so now let's look at this. If you have some daily, you're basically, once you get into some lab, and you're gonna want to basically just go around and beg to get into a lab. Like that's just kind of, you're gonna do everything that's possible to try to get into any one of these particular fields as a physicist. And then you'll basically, I mean, okay, don't beg, don't be annoying, but have some dignity. But some tips that you want to have, um, are that you're going to read your associate professor's like field, like what they're specifically known for. Personally, I'd worked with somebody who'd broken a world record at a national laboratory, so that's kind of like nice. It's nice to have. So and people would talk about them. So then you'd go and like read their paper and like figure out, oh damn, like I understand none of this, because I'm just a feeble freshman. I don't really understand anything. But then you like start reading and reading and reading these trash, well, not my, oh God. You start reading these trash papers, except my professor's paper. My professor's paper is the only paper that isn't trash. The rest, you're going to have to sit through reading archive, and learning to actually like speak the physical language that whatever your professor has been doing, like, or your PI or whoever you're doing working with research under. Avoid big labs. Try to get into a smaller one where you're noticed. Um, Typically, physics is pretty good about this. They try not to overextend their labs and keep the flow there. But because it's just physics is always trying to optimize. So we don't really like putting up with bullshit. Uh, but then again, there are some like massive collaborations and stuff. But like, usually the people who are coming in that are getting funded to work on some research or whatever, like they um, particularly those kinds of people have like people under them that are being like mentored, or so there's some kind of PI type of relationship happening, some mentor or mentee type of relationship. But you basically want to take your mentor stuff. Let's just use mentor, okay? You're gonna want to take all of their publications and like understand what they do. You're gonna want to study up on them. Don't make it weird. Don't be a stalker, right? Like just like tell them, hey, I'm gonna like read up on you if that's cool. Like, I mean, I don't think there's like a weirder. I mean, I don't. Okay, don't. Sorry. This is horrible. Um, but yeah, so just like make it chill, I guess. And you're gonna want to read. You're gonna want to do a literature review of whatever assignment that they give you, and you're gonna want to document it all. Make sure that you are turning in things to them, even when like they don't necessarily. Oh my god, bro, my Z is like. Sorry, I have my phone here on my computer, and it was like pressing Z's parallels. But yeah, so you want to do two types of reading. You want to read like trash types of writing, which is like institutionalized journal slop, basically. And I think they even okay, so I think even like AI is accepted in like these journals. This journal has it's not really a journal, but this is like a preprint server. So it's already kind of like a slop mess, but then now it has like a CEO or something. I don't know, something like that. But whatever. Anyways, so that's like you just have to not don't take these papers super seriously unless it's your professors. Then in that case, like you're gonna want to out make sure your approach is like all encompassing, like in grunt work for a little bit before you start having like ideas of your own. But your ideas are important. It's just like you want to be kind of conservative with your assignment, okay? Which is what I found a lot of success in. Next, you're going to want to actually read good books. So read Landau and Lifshitz. That's all I have to say. Just read all 10 of them. If not, you should probably read all 10 of them in 4 years. I think that's not a bad goal to have. And use them. Uh, the reason why you should read them along with your classes is because you're going to quickly realize the classes that you take, like books that use books like that start with a G and ends with the if it's. Sorry, those aren't the best. It's just not the best approach to teaching the subject because it just comes off as pop sci. Okay, it just comes off as pop science. General relativity, or sorry, special relativity in electromagnetism is like the last chapter, which makes absolutely no sense because the moment you even start beginning to talk about fields and particles and how they interact with fields, like electric fields or magnetic fields, like it's purely a relativistic effect. Anyways, there's no point in learning electromagnetism in 3 dimensions. There's just no way. Okay, you're never. It's not serious physics. So, anyways, so read. Actually, you need to do this type of reading in parallel. Read good books. Read good literature. And this isn't. Yeah, I mean, technically, it's kind of literature, but this is more literature, like research areas that people get hired to feed their families and stuff. Okay, now, what you're gonna want to do is aim for specifically conferences. So you could go for like an undergraduate type of conference. I presented at this one time, like as a freshman. And then you can also go for like a professional type of conference that will look really good on your resume, or in your IPS. That's a good one too. Uh, you're gonna want to have like basically you're gonna want to have a lot of output. The more output that you have, the better. But make sure that your grades are emphasized your first couple of years or your first couple of semesters if you're trying to accelerate yourself and deal with the undergraduate bullshit less. um, but I'd say aim for a 3.5. That's kind of where I wound up by my senior year, but I had a lot of output, so all of these things look really good. Because they're when you're going for a PhD, right? They're hiring you to be a researcher, right? First and foremost, like, and especially if you're applying for like fellowship type of programs or like all of these things. So, your goal also keep in mind, if you're aiming for industry or aiming for a prestigious type of PhD program, or not prestigious, but like a very specific field that you think is extremely interesting, like, I don't know, fusion research or elementary particle physics, or you're trying to work at CERN, okay, something like that. Well, CERN just turned off their proton beam, rest in peace. But you know, maybe at the next high luminosity installation, I don't know if the freshmen coming in are gonna be, let me see, because that'll be like another 4 years. Anyway, there's an upgrade happening to CERN. I think it's gonna be a little longer than 4 years. That's my opinion. But yeah, or not my opinion. I think that's a fact. Oh, let me look it up. You know what? No, I'm not gonna waste time. But yeah, so basically, this is table stakes. I mean, this just gives you table stakes. Prioritize archive preprints if you can. Find somebody who can, you can get your name on an archive preprint, or even maybe even get endorsed. Who knows? Like, as an undergraduate, that looks very good. If you're a trustworthy individual, and also have contributed to a field, that's pretty good. Um, and also GitHub repositories, posters, conference talks, etc. All these things are very important for your undergraduate type of your stack, basically. Now, this is something you'll also want to get immediately into is high performance computing. As a physicist, this is very ignore this ignore this the clout house. We'll go into that in a second. But you'll basically want to you're gonna want to learn Linux, Bash. You're gonna want to learn how to do Git, version control, Slurm, like very early. These are the types of skills that, as physicists, you're gonna want to like be studying and reading up on along with everything. Um, Now, you're gonna want to talk to your university, and talk to them about their computing clusters. If they have any computing clusters, like what that looks like, how you can like work with the cloud as well. Get like some AWS or GCP like free tiers if you can, and play around with cloud computing. That's also a super useful skill to have that will get used a lot in any physics research. And so, that's kind of you, and also just learning how to parallelize everything. That's kind of like this is like the starter pack for like becoming for like the bare minimum of like doing computational physics. Like at somewhere like a national laboratory, you would want to shoot for this like at NERSC Perlmutter. I got to use some of their resources my freshman, sophomore-ish, and rising sophomore-ish type of time when I worked for the DOE a little bit. So, well, I didn't work for the DOE. I was just the DOE threw money at me. Um, and then, you're gonna want to form. Basically, you need some way to like mitigate risk. So you're gonna want to form like some 3 to 6 person type of theory, computational, experimental type of group, and you guys should check in with each other a lot. Like, this is something that was missing for me in my freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year. Is like people to actually be productive with, and I hope that a lot of people don't will see this video and not like, oh, I need to isolate myself and learn all this stuff, because you learn a lot by collaborating with people. So just collaboration, making friends, but also like working on shit. Maybe even like, become a bunch of LARPing influencers or whatever, and just like, we're physicists, haha, gang, and work these whiteboard types of problems that are going to help you become a better physicist with each other. Co-author projects with each other, like help each other like rise up. That's like another thing that I'm a big proponent for, and part of the reason why I make the Discord server the way that it is, and like just kind of a self-starting type of project thing. So make sure that you guys are doing this and collaborating with people. And honestly, this is kind of hypocritical because I am procrastinating a lot of my stuff that I need to do right now, but with my own collaborations. But we're gonna and those people who are watching, shout out. Okay, um, but yeah. So we also, sorry, I need a drink. Funding. Uh, you're gonna want to shotgun like all of these. Not literally, but you're gonna want to get like REUs, Sully internships, DoD, or I guess there's DoD. I don't know if there's a Department of War fellowships or not. I don't. I think they were on the fence of cutting research entirely, but we'll see. NSF GRFP fellowship. So you're going to want to look out for condensed matter theory, nuclear reactors, astrophysics, plasma kinetics, fundamental physics like differential geometry, quantum field theory foundations. And then, of course, there's also, I don't think this will be on any of the NSF or DOE types of programs that they have for students, but it might be, who knows. But yeah, so from the limited amount of funding that they give to students, these are good opportunities. So just research. They allow you to go do research at some institution. Usually they're prestigious institutions. Um, my I did something completely different. It's not on here, but I worked at a nice, prestigious type of lab where some of the first van der Waals accelerators were made, and I think that should be enough for you to for the stalkers to triangulate where I went. So yeah, and basically, I would say the last thing that you want to talk about, that I kind of want to emphasize, is how you can accelerate yourself post graduation. So there's different types of fields. There's also medical physics where you can like skip med school. So I just wanted to like throw that in there. There's different routes, and I would say really if you want to do like bio or like anatomy or whatever the hell type of like practicing work that you're trying to do, most of the medical physics people or health physics is different, but medical physics people are working on the radiation types of like or particle accelerators to like uh, like treat cancer, shoot some protons into somebody's brain, and that's true. They do shoot protons into people's brains. I'm not just making that up. Um, and just using those beams because stopping power, like all of that stuff. Um, and yeah, there's also just if there's a high demand funding field for like all of these, they're gonna pay for your masters, but it just depends on what field that you're going into. So you're gonna want to make sure that you're monitoring that these next for a couple of years, as the world changes, as we go into World War III and the world goes to shit. So that's a joke. Hopefully, I mean, unless you guys can change something about it, right? um, but yeah, Target Department of Energy labs. These are great. These are great labs here. Oak Ridge National Lab. That's where like they made all of the uranium for the Hiroshima bomb. Lano, Los Alamos, Princeton Plasma Physics Lab. Yeah, they're working on fusion and like all that stuff. So, and target some fusion, quant funds, academia. If you're a physicist, you can probably go anywhere. I mean, you're smart enough to figure out how to like, you'll be if you're a physicist and you follow this path, like you'll be smart enough to like get really any role that you want in terms of these types of things. Because there's really a high demand, or not a high demand for physicists. There's very little of us, and people don't understand the value that physicists actually provide for society. So they don't fund it as much as they should. That's really the issue. So yeah, so then we just kind of, whatever, we sit here and twiddle our thumbs and just talk to the wall like a crank. But yeah, and then you have daily literature, monthly project delivery, annual major output. You're going to want to make sure this is continuous. You don't want to give up on anything, right? Just keep going. Just even if it's shit, like, remember, like, what's important is your output, right? Your output is what's going to get you, is what's going to help you survive the classes like quantum mechanics or whatever. You'll probably be taking like some, maybe some introductory, some like, calculus type classes or differential equations. Notice how I didn't really talk about classes here at all, because they're not really that important. I mean, they are, but just start off so that you can get like perfect grades at first, and then just go from there. All right, they don't really matter, especially if you're doing research. They care more about that. Every accredited physics program is an accredited physics program, and they have to meet certain requirements. You're going to have to take quantum mechanics or modern physics or whatever, and then boom. So then once you take it, just get a good grade, get out of there. 50 to 60 hour week, that's sustainable with discipline, pretty close to like a job. But then again, if you're like a college student, you're away from home, you could probably be tempted to, like, I don't know, to do other things. So just make sure that those other things don't get in the way of your accountability, and I'm sure your peers hold each other accountable as well. Experimental skills and theory and computation. You're gonna want to have both. You can focus on theory and computation, or focus on experiment, but you need both. And that will make you an irreplaceable asset for the government and the jet space program. No, I'm joking. It'll make you just irreplaceable in general, to, like, any employer. So yeah, and then make sure that you're always cold emailing PIs with specific ideas from their papers. Just in general, it's good to network, and cold email is a skill, and you're not always going to get response from people. But cold emailing is, especially when you're young, the younger you are, the cooler or the better, like, your cold emails are, because they're like kind of, you just sound kind of like innocent and like crazy. And so it's like, oh yeah, this guy has a lot of energy, let's get him on something, right? So that's usually how they read it. All right, well, hopefully this was kind of helpful. This is more aimed for physicists again, but hopefully if the mathematician stayed, you kind of get an inner landscape of the geometry of our crazy brains. Okay. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Bye bye.